Thank you, Madam Chair.
We would like to call the order the special council meeting, city council meeting, June 17th, 2025. The time is 6:07. Madam Clerk?
Mayor Douglas Lawson,
Here.
Chairperson Shirley Lanier,
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Kashama Miller Anderson,
Present.
Councilperson Bruce Guyton,
Here.
Councilperson Glenn Spiritus,
Here.
Councilperson Priscilla Davis Panier, City Manager Jonathan Evans,
Present.
Acting City Clerk Deborah Hall is present, City Attorney Don Nguyen.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum, you may proceed.
We have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Dr. Glenn Spiritus.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions from the manager or from the council?
No, Madam Chair.
Are there any disclosures from this council or the staff in regards to the item on the agenda this evening?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Yes, I've met with many of the people that are in this room to discuss this issue previously to the meeting.
Okay. Any others? Hearing none, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Davis Panier,
Yes.
Councilperson Guyton,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Spiritus,
Yes.
Chairperson Lanier,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Thank you. This is a special meeting in regards to paid parking for the city of Riviera Beach. Because it is a special meeting, it is the only thing that is on the agenda this evening. We will start with the manager providing us an outline of why we're here this evening. Mr. Evans?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. This item before you this evening is seeking direction from the board as to how you wish to proceed concerning the provision of paid parking services. Pursuant to a direction provided by the board, this item was set for a special meeting to have a discussion about the city of Riviera Beach moving forward with the implementation of paid parking. Enclosed in the backup document shows the appropriate resolutions and ordinances that have been adopted to effectively facilitate the implementation of the parking program. In the resolutions, it does provide for the authority for the city manager to move forward with the institution of paid parking. And the intent behind this presentation is to walk the board through some of the historical nuances associated with the parking program, and then to get direction and clarity from the board as to how you wish to proceed forward with the parking systems. So there will be information that will show you the lots that we are speaking on in great specificity. Also, our parking consultants are here to talk about parking studies that the city has undertook in the past, as well as our parking vendor that would be deploying the technology to facilitate the paid parking program. And so as we go through this slideshow, you'll see historically how long we've been looking at this as a feasible opportunity for the city. And so based on the direction or consent from the board, there's not an official motion that would need to be provided to facilitate whatever the direction the board wishes to go. You can handle this matter in whichever form or fashion, but staff does have a slide that contemplates what the next steps are. And so we'll also get into the conversations and the nature of the conversations that we've had with members of the business community and the community, the greater community at large. And so making this presentation with me is Finance Director, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Randy Sherman, and we will commence the slideshow presentation, Madam Chair, if there's no objections.
Hearing none, go ahead.
No, I don't. No, this is a different one. Yeah. Um, Madam Chair and members of the board, I've asked for Director Sherman to provide a little bit of historical context with respect to the parking systems and when the systems were put in place and how long the city has had this discussions in multiple forums. And, most recently, the series of meetings that we've had in the month of April, and then we'll get into some meetings that we've had with the community. So, Mr. Sherman?
Yes, good evening again. Randy Sherman, Chief Financial Officer for the city. This goes back to, this chart here goes back to 2009 when the Ocean Mall reopened after the major renovation. And to point out, both the Ocean Mall and the Marina District are within the CRA, which is why you see the CRA up here. So the Marina area reopened in 2014. In 2015, the CRA director started looking into a paid parking program. And as you can see that, over the years, the CRA has done some studies, the city has done some studies. And we've redone studies, we've updated studies, we've changed parking consultants over the years. But really for the last 10 years, parking has been looked at various stages and by different entities within the city. In April of 2024 is when the board actually adopted a total revision of the parking ordinances with Ordinance 4150. That same evening, the board actually did adopt some rate structures. And then from that point, we move forward to bringing on board the third-party parking manager. So again, all these studies, we have had parking consultants working on, and then now what we have in place, the third-party manager. This is the overview of the Marina District. There's really a couple areas that we're looking at. The one to the right, which are the paved lots. That's one area that we're looking at. And then what we consider are our overflow lots on our heavy weekends are the sand lots further to the west, but east of Broadway. So that is the Marina District parking. And at Ocean Walk, again, the beach area is to the bottom of this slide. And you can see the Ocean Mall area in there. So to the west of the mall, which is at the top, those are the lots that we consider our retail lots. And then the strip, the road, really the on-street parking between the mall and the beach area is what we're calling our premium lots. You want me to continue with these items, Mr. Okay. So we've looked at, and these are our current drone shots. So we've looked at recent activity that's been going on at the mall, and this was as a result of some of the meetings that we held with the business owners in the area. What we want to point out here, and you'll see that again we have had those meetings with the businesses. We've made some changes to the plan as far as how it was originally brought forward. And one of the areas that we're looking for here is really to address what we're seeing as the long-term parkers. Those items, as you can see, 2 different days, everything that is circled in blue, those cars have not moved. And those are the parkers, the cars that we want to get. Why those particular cars are there, we don't necessarily know. Could be for the surrounding businesses, could be coming from commuters. It could be coming from, some of the residents, parking a vehicle here. But one of the areas that we wanted to point out is those cars are consistent. They've stayed in the same spot for multiple days. I don't have it in the slide presentation, but we went through the same process a couple of weeks ago. And again, it shows that cars are parking here and not moving. Looking on the premium lots, again, this is on the other side of the street. You can see both on the left-hand side, which is right around the noontime hour, every one of those spots is filled. And then the same thing we did, the next day at about 2 o'clock. And again, every one of those spots are filled. Again, we don't know if they're in the businesses or they're at the beach, but those are clearly the desired parking spots that everyone, again, is taking, sitting and parking and using those for a good portion of the peak hours. Over at the marina, again, these are the top ones. You can see these are the paved lots. On the left-hand side, 3:30 in the afternoon, we only have 7 spaces available. We have 33 spaces available on the other side. And then when you go out to the overflow lots, there's hardly anybody there. So again, the pricing here, and again, the model here is we want to free up those spaces and push those people out into the overflow lots, so you have that constant turnover in those, again, more preferred paved lots. As far as do you want to handle the community engagement?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, Madam Chair, member of the board, when we originally brought this item to the council for consideration, the board directed staff to go and have multiple meetings with the business community, and we did facilitate at least 4 or not 5 meetings with the business community and residents that were also part of those particular meetings. We also facilitated a survey as well that you'll see the survey results. The business community did express significant opposition to the implementation of the paid parking system, communicating that it would have an economic impact on their business and adversely impact their business. Also, they communicated some concerns that they had with respect to their employee parking. One of the challenges that sometimes employees work different shifts, multiple shifts, long shifts, and how would we ensure that the employees were not going to be impacted, as some of them are making what is perceived to be minimum wage in the service industry. The challenge also is we talked about a validation program whereby there could be a validation exercise, but some of the business said that is the city now putting additional responsibilities on the business community, and it would be a challenge for some of the business to handle or manage what is in fact the validation program. The businesses expressed some concerns with respect to the revenue generation component and what the monies would be utilized for. The monies associated with the parking system would be utilized specifically and exclusively for the preservation of the parking system. So the funds are restricted for the parking system. So mobility, anything to expand, anything to improve transportation, mobility, and parking, those are what the funds can be utilized for. So it is not a situation where it can be utilized to supplant requests on the general fund budget side, but to pay for what is in fact the parking. We also communicated with the businesses that a large portion of them anticipated, as a result of their lease agreements, that they were making contributions to the city of Riviera Beach, and that is in fact not the case. Ocean Mall is leased out to a private provider. The private provider has the leasehold of Ocean Walk, and so lease payments that are remitted from the businesses go straight to that particular entity, not to the city of Riviera Beach. I believe the revenue generation that the city gets associated with Ocean Walk is about $10,000 per month for the entire Ocean Mall. The business community, or not the business community, but the leasehold, their responsibility is to clean and maintain the parking. So there is no other revenue generation at the Ocean Walk besides the lease payments.
Mr. Evans, let me stop you right there. So if we're making 10,000 a month, what is the leaseholder making?
Madam Chair, I'm not 100% sure that I can divulge what that information is, but I will tell you, just in the spirit of transparency, in conversation, some of the entities that are leasing space in the Ocean Walk pay at least $25,000 a month for the use of their particular space. And that is not even the largest space in that particular Ocean Walk. So, but that is information that was provided to me, so I will share that. And then obviously the concern that folks had about, is this going to, create for an issue or problematic issue? So staff did try to, and you'll see in the next slide, in a couple of slides, Mr. Sherman, next slide, please. We did have also a survey. We wanted to provide an opportunity because in some cases we saw that in some meetings that persons weren't necessarily as vocal or participated in some of those meetings, and some of those meetings were cannibalized by certain persons. And so we did provide a survey, and you see that over 58% of persons that were in opposition of parking, 27% of persons voiced their support. Also, this board, I don't know if this board has received it, but previous boards have received a petition that was in opposition of paid for parking of roughly about 1,500 signatures. I think the last one, may have been 1,900 when I saw. But when we broke down what is in fact the persons that signed the petition, it was 39% were bona fide Riviera Beach residents and 56% were not Riviera Beach residents.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Evans, a digital survey that was disseminated, how many total responses did we receive?
I'd have to, I can get that answer before the end of this presentation. Communications sent out the survey, so we can provide you with that information.
Thank you.
Next slide, Mr. Sherman. So the original proposal, and we talk about Marina District, we're talking about this particular area here. So the original proposal said 0 to 2 hours, $5, 2 to 3 hours, $10, 3+ hours, $15. This is not compounding, so if you're here for $3 or for 3+ hours, you pay $15. You can look at the sandlots. The sandlots had a different rate, and so you can see what in fact that rate was. We now fast forward to what the proposed.
Sir, you cannot, we have public comment, and once we have public comment, you'll be able to ask your questions. Go ahead, Mr.
So
Evans.
when we go to the amended proposal, and this is after the conversation that we had with the business community, is 0 to 2 hours would be free, 2 to 3 hours would be $10, 3+ hours is $15, and then you can see what the rate is for those that are going to park in the sandlot. One point I want to make very clear is the validation codes. One of the things that we talked about with the business community in great length is that if persons were coming to the marina and they were patronizing one of the local establishments, whether it be waterside or here in the Marina Event Center, that there would be a validation code that would in essence pay for the parking, because we wanted to make sure that anyone that was coming to this lot was in fact supporting what is in a local Riviera Beach residence. So when we get into the implementation of the parking system, it would be some great specificities that we would have to get into with the specific businesses to make sure that we can accommodate what their needs are based on how their programs are set up. Some of them communicated that they in fact do send out electronic tickets. And so is it a situation where the validation code is provided and then someone puts that in to the system? Is it a situation where the clerk of that specific business enters the validation code? And we even talked about the possibility of having a parking attendant that will be there to help assist with the validation process. So we did have multiple conversations with the community, the business community, as it relates to the validation codes and being able to assist to make sure that it wasn't a situation that their patrons that would come visit their businesses would have a issue with regards to paying for parking. Next slide, Mr. Chairman. Going to the Ocean Walk, one of the things that we talked about the Ocean Walk is we're going to talk for the premium area. The premium areas is in fact that Ocean Avenue. The original proposal looked from 0 to 1 hour, $3, and then obviously a graduated scale. What we looked at the alternative proposal, that was an area that we said if parking is to be implemented in full bore, it would be our recommendation to do it on that Ocean Avenue area, because that's an area that invariably you want to have the transition of parking spaces, because that is fronting the park, that is the closest proximity to, in fact, the beach, and that is in that particular area. So that was a section that we said that we wanted to charge what is the full freight for parking. The concession that we made is you see on the west portion of the building that there is a graduated scale that was proposed from $2 to $30. But what we did is, based on the conversations that we had with the business community, is that we said, okay, any parking that is 8 hours or longer would in fact pay the $30. So in essence, 0 to 8 hours of time would be free. That was to alleviate some of the local businesses saying if somebody was coming to watch a sports events or 2 sports events, that in fact they didn't have to pay for the parking, because the business communities was adamant about that hurting their business. We also talked about validation codes, providing for validation codes for those people that come to support the businesses, especially if it is a situation where they are parking in that premium parking. There would be a de minimis validation code to maybe take, the first $5 off the parking if they park in those premium areas. The system is fully operated by cameras. It is a intuitive system. What it does is captures through an LPR license plate reader, captures the license plate, and then it will also, when the license plate leave, it will capture the time that persons were in there, and you can pay on your mobile device, you can pay at a kiosk. So there's multiple ways to pay, but it is all electronic based. It is not a situation where there is a parking attendant, or there is going to be, in some cases, if fully implemented, there will be meters to provide for other options for persons. Sherman, next slide. When we talk about the Marina District, this is one that we looked at. You have the north and south, the paved lots, and you can see that there's been a change from the 0 to 2 hours is free, and then you have a situation where 2 to 3 hours is $10, and then 3+ hours is $15. I do want to hone in. This is the part where the validation is important, because this provides an opportunity based on the validation, the value of the validation code, to provide a situation where patrons that come to those programs would not be impacted. So if you see on the amended proposal, you can see on the sandlots, it's free for 0 to 2 hours, and then a graduated scale for 8+ hours, it's $10. But if they do support one of the waterside businesses or businesses on the uplands, that there is a validation code that is provided, and we would work specifically with those particular waterside businesses or upland businesses to be able to design a program that makes sense. The other thing I do want to mention is that there would be a situation where we would whitelist the vehicles of staff and persons that are there to help support the businesses. So we would work with the business community to find out the license plates from their staff, get an understanding of what their allotment of hours are, and then that business would pull from that allotment of hours to be able to accommodate the business and the nature of the business of their staff. And we would designate areas that would be a preferred employee parking area, but this would be something that we would work through with the business community. So you see the biggest change is the 0 to 2 hours free and the validation code, and that was provided for as an amendment to the discussion that we had after hearing from the business community.
Madam Chair?
Let's go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Evans, on the last 2 slides, you had 0 to 3 hours, 3+ hours and 8+ hours that was capped. At what time will it be a rollover? Is it a 24-hour rolling scale? If somebody parks all day there, will the charge start the next day? What we have at our marina is we have individuals that, park their cars and then leave their cars as they go out in their boats, or they sleep on it, or just have it as a storage. What happens with that 8+ hours?
That's I'd have to defer to the parking consultant, because one of the things that we talked about is a situation where you do have vehicles that invariably stay overnight, and so I can't recall off the top of my head what we did for those vehicles that got over the 8+ hours, unless you know, Mr. Sherman.
Yeah, so if we know that there are boat owners and we have their vehicles, we can whitelist those individuals if they live aboard type,
Yeah.
arrangements.
And one of the things
Well, that wasn't that was my concern, because I don't want to just whitelist those. What I'm saying is, what kind of charge for those boat owners is going to be impacted, and then.
Right, to that point, and to provide a little bit of clarity, those that have bona fide slips at the marina, their parking structure is different. There's another slide where we talk about what a resident pass is.
Got it.
So here is what a proposed resident pass, when we first had the conversation, the original rate was 135 for the annual pass. And then you can see that we made some modifications to the original rate to $50 for the resident pass and 25 for the seasonal pass. This would capture our residents in our community. They would come in and pay what is in fact the administrative cost to generate the pass, fill out the information, they'll get their pass, and then they will be able to park anywhere at any parking lot for, in essence, free. The only thing that would be different is if they parked on that premium parking at the Ocean, their premium pass would give them about like 4 hours. And then after 4 hours, they would have to transition that, or they would be charged for a fee. But those are the passes that we would be provided for the resident passes. So you would have for the annual resident pass, $50, and for the seasonal resident, $25. And this allows for them to park in any of the lots. And this is a bona fide, they have to provide us documentation that they are in fact a bona fide Riviera Beach resident to be able to receive the resident pass.
Sir, listen, hold on 1 second. 1 second, sir. Hold on a second. There is a policy in council meetings that you cannot have any outbursts. That is the reason why the police is here, sir. You can be removed. You can be removed, sir. And we also as well. But you can't be removed from this meeting because guess what? Everybody wants to have an opportunity to talk. Everybody does. And you will. Thank you, sir.
So,
Okay, very good. Go ahead, Mr. Evans.
So, Madam Chair, and to bring things in for proverbial landing, is that we want to make sure that there is, adequate notice, advance notice that is provided to each of the businesses before the full implementation of the parking systems. We talked about at minimum a 30, 45-day notice that would be provided to all the businesses and the community as it relates to when the parking system would in fact be activated, if it's the board's pleasure to proceed forward as that. So we will also be working with the specific waterside vendors and those that have boat slips at the marina to be able to make sure that they in fact know when they can sign up for a resident pass, where the resident passes are, what documentation is needed. So it would be a full-fledged communications and marketing campaign associated with that. As previously stated, community-wide distribution. We would customize the validation process. We will also allow for online payments of applications to make it, as simple and as easy as possible. We would finalize and formalize what is the resident parking pass. We would bring back before the board an interlocal agreement between the city and CRA specific to this particular parcel, because you have a situation where it's joint ownership and half the parking lot is the city and half the parking lot is the CRA. So that wouldn't be an item that would come before the CRA board. The permitting and installation of cameras and kiosks, and then making sure that the parking surfaces meet the code specifications for smooth and dust-free environment. So those are the next steps should the board direct staff to proceed forward. Again, a couple of things that I do want to hit on with respect to the revenue generation program. If this program is fully implemented as originally discussed, the revenue generation for the city is approximately conservatively about $2.2 million. If the modified program is adopted or considered, the revenue generation could be about $500,000 that can be, again, earmarked for specific transportation and mobility activities here in the city of Riviera Beach. We would, again, work with the businesses to make sure that we whitelist their employees. Also, when this facility is utilized for rentals, there is a situation where we would designate and be able to turn off the cameras, for lack of better terms, for the purposes of utilizing this particular facilities. So if we have a situation where we have an event, tree lighting ceremony, or an event at the park, and we said we in fact do not want to charge for parking for that event, we can turn that off and the community can park in all the spots and not be charged for. So we have great flexibility with this program. We will work again with the CRA as it relates to the use of this banquet hall and the rental space, and for our non-for-profits, our small agencies, making sure that it's not a situation that adversely impacts their ability to have people come to this great venue and have an issue with regards to parking. And again, as it relates to the relationship with the Ocean Walk in the city of Riviera Beach, we are in fact the property owners, but again, our lease payment that we receive for the entire Ocean Walk is de minimis in the grand scheme of things concerning what they receive or what they pay to the leasehold for their particular spaces. And so hopefully the board will see that staff was very intentional to try to find a way to resolve what we think was all the pinch points. If the board wants to provide direction to proceed forward, we will take that information and then we will follow what the next steps that are prescribed, or we can take any modifications that the board may have to then move forward accordingly, and then bring back if there's a necessity to bring anything back outside of the interlocal agreement, we can do so accordingly. And so at this time, Madam Chair, that concludes staff's presentation, and we are prepared to answer any questions the board may have.
Madam Chair?
Hold on one second, Dr. Schraders. Before we get started with the vote questions, I would like to get the public's input into this. So if we can have public comment at this time, how many public comments do we have? You have to put a card in, sir. Use that card.
Chairperson Lanier, there are 15 public comment cards.
Okay, let us get started because we do want to hear from the public.
Chairperson Lanier, Ms. Andrea Joseph is going to call off the names for the public comment.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes,
is it too late to submit a public comment card?
it is not.
Can you explain maybe to the residents who are here who may not come often what they need to do if they have something to say? Please.
We have a public comment period that starts at 7:30. Because it is not 7:30, you have until 7:30 to submit your public comment cards. And it's only for the item, yes. You're correct. This portion, because of this item, is closed, but we also do have regular public comment up until 7:30. That starts at 7:30, actually. So you have that. If you want to speak on this issue, please submit a public comment card for this item. If not, if it's just a general public comment, you still can do that, but that starts at 7:30. Very good. Ms. Joseph?
Yes. Madam Chair, we have some that checked off public comment, and we have some that checked off 12A. We don't have that many with 12A, but most of them checked off public comment.
Let's start with the 12A.
Okay. That would be, last name looks like Poccio, P-O-C-C-I-O. This one and that one. That's you? Okay.
How you doing, Council? My name is Mark Polio, owner of Blue Water Boat Rentals here at the Riviera Beach Marina. 21 years now. This here was the concern, was reading through this. A lot of that he just discussed wasn't in here. So I would just want to be sure that all the things that we hit on here, the whitelisting for employees and the validation for our customers, will be something that is going to be definitely taken care of before we fully implement the parking program. So basically this agenda didn't have a lot of those talking points in it. And that's important to us as business owners, that we have all that stuff as part of it.
Thank you for your comment, sir.
The next speaker is David Wilson. followed by Matthew Schwink and Captain Alyssa Swin.
Hi. Yeah, my name is David. I'm one of the owners of Two Drunken Goats. I wanted to cover some of it's personal, but covering economics and the timing of all this. To speak on the economics, me and my brother bought this place about 2 years ago. Before that, I ran the Key Lime House for about 20 years. I know how to run a business. But last year, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December, we lost money, all 7 months. It is a tough environment for restaurants right now. We even had to borrow a little bit of money in December just to kind of get through the last of the off season. Food cost is crazy right now. 20-pound case of chicken breast that used to be $60 a few years ago is now $90. That mahi sandwich used to be $6.50 a pound, is now $9.50 a pound. Everything has gone up. Part of it is just the economics of the pandemic, but a good chunk of it is the tariffs is not really helping right now. Labor squeezes us quite a bit. Years ago, you could get a cook for 12, 13, 14, 15 bucks an hour. Everybody in my kitchen now, they're all 17 to 22 bucks an hour. Coming up here in September, it's going to be another $1 an hour minimum wage. Next September, another $1 an hour. It just kind of hits us pretty hard. And we can't just raise prices anymore. The restaurants that are surviving right now are providing value. You can't just crank up your cost of your grouper to 26 bucks and everybody's just going to eat it. Whole food shoppers are now Walmart shoppers. If you're not providing that value, they're just going to go somewhere else. That's one of my biggest concerns with this parking. Anything that drops our sales, even I assume maybe 10%, we're going to get clipped with this parking. Somebody's not going to come to our restaurant or our plaza based on having to pay for parking. And right now, we just can't really afford it. Economics, obviously, of our customers have changed. The people that are actually spending money in our business. That one bedroom that used to be $900 a month is now $1,600 a month. Fill up your grocery cart, used to be 50 bucks, now it's 100 bucks. Everything costs more. Parking is just a tariff that's just going to make it worse. So we're not on board with it at all. We are concerned about our employees. It's hard to find them, or it's certainly hard to find good ones. If any of these guys get clipped with even $1 extra, $5 extra.
There's a 3-minute clock right here. That's the time that you have for public comment.
Okay.
Thank you. And that is for the public as well. There's a 3-minute time limit for each person that comes to the microphone to speak.
Matthew Swink. Matthew Swink. Next person is Captain Alyssa Swin.
Good evening. I'm a yacht captain here in Revere Beach Marina. We've been here for over 10 years. My boss spends over $120,000 a year in dockage just here at the marina, and tens of thousands in purchasing of fuel here. He's not a resident of Riviera Beach or Florida. I'm not a resident of Riviera Beach. I spend more time here in Riviera Beach than I do actually in my home. But what kind of considerations are we going to have? If my boss were to drive in and somebody would tell him he's got to pay $10 to park when he spends well over $100,000 a year for dockage, that's a pretty big slap in the face. And would just like to know what kind of considerations these boat owners are going to have when they spend a lot of money on dockage, fuel, the boat, all the businesses in the Riviera Beach area, some in the area, some outside of the area. Something to be considered.
Thank you, sir, for your comments.
Next person is Peter Wilson.
Hey, how you doing? Obviously, you just heard the other half. My brother, we purchased the restaurant a couple years ago. This is the wrong time to do this. It's a tax on all of us, and it's gonna drive away business. We're surrounded by communities that don't charge to park, all of them. You're telling all your constituents, don't come here, because now I'm gonna charge you if you wanna come here. I'm concerned for my employees. The way it's laid out now, you're saying if they're we share employees amongst the restaurants. A lot of them work longer than 8 hours. I have to tell them they have to pay to go to work. These are not highly paid people to begin with. It's just disheartening. We can't figure out, you say you're doing this because you outlined, there's 300 spots on that lot and there's 5 blue circles. I'll solve that problem for you tomorrow. You got signs up all over the place. We'll tow you. Tow them. You'll see those cars disappear in a day and they won't be back. There'll be no issues. We're looking 10 months out of the year. There's any spot you want in that lot. For these 2 months out of the year that we're busy, we depend upon those 2 months to survive. Those 2 months, 3 months carry us throughout all our dead season. You tell these people not to come, then we're gonna go away and you're really gonna lose your tax revenue. When you start losing our sales tax and losing our business tax. That's about all I have. I'd like to give this guy the rest of my time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Chair Lanier, that was the last speaker for 12A. Did you want to move on to regular comments?
Yes, could you ask the ones that have public comments in, do they want to speak on the parking project? Okay, just call those names then.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Madam Chair.
yes, go ahead.
I believe there was one person that was called and then she was not recalled again to speak. She was ready to speak. She's the next person. I believe that's the captain, correct?
Right, I didn't hear that name. Go ahead.
We called Captain Alyssa.
Right.
Yeah.
Who is Captain Alyssa?
Go ahead.
Okay, well, go ahead. She's called your name. Go ahead.
I am Alyssa Sin. I'm actually a third-generation Mariner within the city of Riviera Beach. I'm probably the longest-running captain in the city of Riviera Beach. I think a lot of my questions got answered with this presentation, but I think for people that aren't here, that are in the marina, and the people that have the businesses, there's 2 different issues going on here. There is the mall parking, which is primarily, business owners. And then there's the marina. Now, the marina, my biggest concerns with the marina, since I'm on private vessels, I do need to represent my owner that he can come to the marina, as Captain Matt said as well. We need to have our crews. We might go away for a week. We might come back. We might leave our car. We try not to. But so there's a couple of different things here that I think people may not be understanding if you're not part of the maritime community. With the marina, I work in a lot of other marinas, and there isn't parking, but there is accountability for what vendors, what crews, who's on the premises. So Matt might have 5 guys in there working on his boat on one day. I might have 5 guys working on my boat one day that, are vendors, but they need to be able to have parking. If you go to Rybovich, you don't pay for parking. If you go to North Palm Beach Marina, you don't pay for parking. You don't pay for parking at Safe Harbor. So these are things that I think have to be accounted for. I need to be able to, I go to my boat that I work on any time of the day or night, whenever, and I need to be able to have parking, and so does my owner. I'm very satisfied. I was very concerned about the vendors as far as the dive boat operators and the water taxi people. With them getting validation, that answered a lot of my question, because they pay per head as well. And they need to have the parking for their people and their crews. But with the validation, that's all answered. I just think we need to make sure that the people that are renting slips and are paying for slips are basically considered a resident of the marina, whether they're a live aboard or not. And then they should be able to have that parking permitted with their slip. If I have to pay as a crew member $50 a year to be able to have my car in there anytime I want, I'm satisfied with that. That's not out of line, but a day rate is. So I think I'm going to leave it at that and just say, you know, I think, but though for the general population here that doesn't, the public that goes to the Ocean Mall is different than the marina. The marina is a working big, it's a big thing of moving parts, constantly moving parts of boats coming in, boats going out. Things need to get fixed. I go to my boat sometimes in the middle of the night because I'm worried the wind's blowing. You know, these are just, it's a constantly moving entity that's a little bit different than going and I want to go have lunch at the mall. Not that I'm saying that you should have to pay a lot of money to do that, but we're talking about two separate things here that I think maybe should be clarified a little better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Go ahead.
The next speaker is Anthony Miller. And that's followed by Andrew Fontaine and Adam Smith.
Good evening. Again, I'm with Riviera Beach. I'm with the Peanut Island shuttle boats. We take a lot of people over to Peanut Island every day, a lot of parking. My concern is employees, again, having to pay. A lot of my employees will not pay up to $150 a month to come to work, which would what it would be if they're paying half the rate. So that's a very big concern of mine. And also I'm looking at the sand lots. According to the city coordinates, you're supposed to have one disabled parking space per 25 parking spaces. So I don't know how you're going to have disabled parking in the sand lots, what kind of situation that will be. I think that's part of your code, but just a question on that one. Employees, I'm very worried about that. We do a lot of traveling in the way of in and out of that marina, having to get parts for the boats, having to buy things for the boats right in the middle of operations. So it's going to be hard for us to be able to walk up to the lot as far away as possible and then try and go and find what we're going to get and bring it back. And also just paying, the employees I have are going to have a big problem paying that kind of money. What the meetings we've had before, we talked about the employees not paying, but then I see on this one it says 50%. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out or exactly what the program is for it. So I'm just interested to find out a bit more detail before we make any decisions so we know where we stand. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your comments.
Andrew Fontaine and Adam Smith, followed by Joseph Reagan.
I have petitions for the thousands of residents and business owners that couldn't be here today against this proposal. So if I can hand them to you real quick.
You can hand them to the clerk, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also been submitted to the city on records, but every parking meeting we've had, not one person has showed up in favor for this parking proposal, yet they keep portraying the opposite. We don't want this to move forward. We don't want to find common ground. We want it to be canceled. We have petitions to cancel with thousands of signatures submitted to records, and we aren't being heard. If this contract isn't canceled today, then it truly shows our voices do not matter. Also, this time spent going to these countless meetings was just for show. No one wants this. Listen to your community and end the contract. Why are you forcing this on us? What the city manager is proposing today is a plan that doesn't make sense for the cost of the meters. The revenue of the proposed plan simply won't cover the cost of this expensive system. 8 hours for free doesn't make sense. Why even put it in? The reason you are proposing a model that loses money, that makes everyone happy, so these prices will get raised at the discretion of our city manager. This is simply a game plan to get passed. He said in the meeting that they won't need a vote to raise prices or change fees in the proposal in front of us if it gets passed. It is simply giving too much power to one person to decide the fate of our businesses in Singer Island, our community in Riviera Beach, and the future of the city. Don't hurt businesses, don't hurt our community, and keep our beaches free. Do the right thing and cancel this contract. Thank you, guys.
Adam Smith, Joseph Reagan, followed by Thai-Najan.
I live in Riviera Beach. I work on the island. You guys are going to hurt hundreds and hundreds of employees between all the businesses. Sales are going to go down. Therefore, hours are going to go down. The businesses aren't going to be making the money they need to be making. And all these employees, they have families to take care of. They have bills they have to pay constantly. I don't really see any reason of pushing this forward when there's not one person in this room besides maybe you guys that think it's necessary. Because what are you guys getting for doing it? And you're hurting us. You're not helping out anything else besides which maybe this company is trying to push forward so they can make a dollar. What about everyone in here that needs to save the dollar? I don't understand why you're pushing this forward. You need to get rid of this contract and take care of the people that are here right now and really care about this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Joseph Reagan.
I get 4 minutes, right? Because he gave me a minute.
No, sir, you get 3 minutes.
All right, look. I moved down here 13 years ago. I drove over Blue Heron Bridge, fell in love with Riviera Beach. I run B&B Underground Contractors. I've done multi-million-dollar upgrades to Riviera Beach, 13th Street. I've put in water, sewer. I've helped build Riviera Beach. I fell in love with it. So I buy a boat and I put it at Riviera Beach Marina after the old tiki bar was tore down. I love it here. But paying all this for my one truck and my wife to have an expedition to come here on the weekends is ridiculous. I've paid over $200,000 for a boat slip just for sometimes having a good time to come to Riviera Beach and enjoy it. I love the tiki bar. I still want to do more business with Riviera Beach from B&B Underground Construction Company. But this right here is telling me I got to pay another $500 a month just to enjoy the weekends, to come to my boat and go out to the island or ride around the island or go fishing. It's ridiculous. And I just don't understand it. I've read it and I read it. Sorry for getting hyper, but I love Riviera Beach. I've helped upgrade it. Sorry that the water system went bad. I mean, that's just the truth. I hated all that. But I put in a lot of infrastructure in Riviera Beach with blood, sweat, and tears and love it. I moved here from Auburn, Alabama, and fell in love with Riviera Beach. And here y'all trying to say $500 more a month. Sorry. I was finna say the F word, but I won't. No. I mean, I don't mind paying a little bit for minding my wife's vehicle, but $500 is ridiculous. I got a minute and something left. War Eagle, I'm an Auburn fan. But thank y'all for listening to me because I'm sorry I get upset, but I don't want to pay no more money. And I do remember, I'm not going to. I know too much about Riviera Beach and the people. They're really good. Everybody I've worked with at the city has been really good to B&B. And, you know, it's just sad that y'all are trying to shove this down our throat when we really don't need it. And thank you, man, for not getting upset with me because not too many people here have done for Riviera Beach what I did. And I know they own businesses and stuff, but there's a lot of water and sewer that wouldn't be good unless I put it in. But Mr. Evans, please understand, I'm not mad, but you need to think about the people that's helped build Riviera Beach back up when at one time it was not good.
Thank you, sir.
Dave Nugent, next person. Next person is Julie Gilbert and Callie Nelson.
Hi everybody, my name is Thiện Nguyễn. I am have a small business owner in Ocean Walk. Back on, I'm come here this country with our money, and then I try to work hard every day, 7 days a week to earn enough money to open my nail salon. And then the COVID happened, I get hurt, and then I try to work really hard to make everything getting normal now. But basically we have only 5 months busy it's season, and the rest like 7 months is really really slow in Ocean Walk Mall. So so I think it's fair for the parking. It's not really good idea because we are small business in Ocean Walk. I think we lost money at least 4 5 months, and then we just make it, break even. So I asked for so many customers about the pay parking. They say that they rather go somewhere else to get the nail done compare with come to Ocean Mall. So please double check. And hopefully you guys give us opportunity to grow our business. I don't want to lose my business. If I lose my business, I have a problem with all my family. So please help us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next person is Kelly Wilson.
Mr. Wilson? You said Wilson or Nelson?
Callie Nelson, followed by Julie Gilbert and Phil Curtis.
Okay. So obviously, I'm not in favor of these parking meters. They're going to disrupt businesses, owners of those businesses, and then employees like myself. I encounter hundreds of people a week, and I haven't heard one person support the idea of these meters. Don't break what isn't broken. I've attended these meetings before, and I've heard the plan is to use the money from the meters to support the water system that needs to be built for Riviera Beach. I understand that's an issue in itself, but you're trying to fix something by breaking something else. You had parking meters up before and eventually took them down. And you took them down for a reason. No one wants this, even people who don't live here. There's over 1,500 signatures on that petition, people who live here and then the people who don't. You showed the stats from the petition in opposition for the meters as 57% non-Riviera Beach residents and 37% Riviera Beach residents. But those stats don't really support your case. If anything, it makes it worse because majority of Riviera Beach residents don't have to park because they live on the island. A lot of employees and people who visit that beach that this is really going to affect don't live there. So where people live and them not wanting the parking meters doesn't really matter. People love the island in this area because of what it has to offer, the restaurants, the nail salon, and the shops. Parking meters will take away from the businesses, and eventually they won't survive. People come back for their annual vacation because they had such a good time at Castaways, or Two Drunken Goats, or Johnny Longboats, or Walk by the Beach. You're gonna drive away tourists, which drives away money for this town. You guys were elected to make decisions based on people's wants and needs, and you wouldn't be here without them. They chose you guys to represent their voice, so please listen to the people because nobody wants this. Thank you.
Next person is Julie Gilbert, Phil Curtis.
Julie Gilbert? Phil Curtis?
Next person, after that is, last name is Colvin.
Hey, y'all doing?
Hello.
I'll be real quick, point blank. I lived on this island 30 years ago, moved back. It's been an amazing place. It's a beautiful place. If you start charging people to park, you're gonna screw up the island, all the businesses. There's a select businesses If those get shut down, your island gets shut down. Nobody's going to come to your beach if there's no businesses that can thrive. You cannot charge the employees to work. I mean, I guess you can, but you shouldn't. You're just going to kill the business, you're going to kill the island, and that's it.
Culver, Rochelle Hughes, and Gordon Hoffman.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Marlon Cover. I'm the founder and CEO of Raw Power EV Charging, a local company that manages 25 electric vehicle charging stations throughout Palm Beach County. I'm here tonight to speak in strong support of implementing paid parking system here in Riviera Beach. I've seen firsthand how communities struggle with balancing growth, infrastructure needs, and public demand, paid parking, and the necessary tools to manage that balance. It's not about revenue. The funds raised can absolutely support street maintenance, public safety, beautification. It's also about creating structure and accountability in how we use our shared public space. To be honest, not charging for parking, especially in high traffic areas, is outdated. Cities across the country have modernized this approach, and it's time that Riviera Beach does so also. Not just for visitors, but to improve the overall experience for residents and businesses alike. Raw Power is committed to smart growth and innovation, and we're proud to be a part of that conversation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next person is Gordon Hopkins, Rochelle Hughes, and Corey Rorock.
How are we doing this evening? Yeah, I'm out here to represent Singer Island and Castaways. I don't know, everything that I've heard so far, it seems that everybody is voting against the paid parking, and I'm sold. You know, I mean, it's not going to do anything beneficial for anybody except for, I guess, the people doing the work, you know, and that's only going to last a certain amount of time, and then all the business is going to fail because of the decision. I don't know. I just listening to everybody, nobody is for it. I mean, it's a lot of people. I mean, when you think about it, people that have actually come out here. I mean, nobody wants to come out here, but we actually have a group of people out here standing against the paid parking. And I would just, you know, reevaluate your decisions to, you know, even push forward on this contract because it really isn't going to do anything beneficial for anybody here. I said, like, except for maybe the people doing the work. And according to what my friend said, Andrew, what they're going to make off of the parking is not going to pay for the contract to do the work for, you know, a long time. So it's not even a beneficial for you guys to have this done, you know, financially at least. I don't know. I mean, I just want to keep it short and sweet, but yeah, I stand against the paid parking. It's gonna hurt me also, an employee out there. Thank you.
Rochelle Hughes. Hello, Rochelle Hughes. I live in Lone Pine Estates. I guess we're not talking about the golf course tonight, are we? Nope. I've lived in this city for 23 years. I got married over on Singer Island at the old Rutledge Inn. Some of you remember that. Been going to Johnny Longboats, Two Drunken Goats, Castaways for a long time. Ever since like they opened, Johnny Longboats has been around a long time. So I'm on the fence, but I was on the fence when I walked in. But now after listening to all these people who are here, they work here, they live here. I never realized about the boat people. You know, they have their boats here. This man right here, he's passionate about this city. like in 13 years. So now I'm kind of like, yeah, why are we trying to change something that's worked for so long? And I do have a question. When you were presenting how those cars were over in the parking lot at the Ocean Mall for over 24 hours, how come they were not towed? Because the city's not going to pay for the towing. The person whose car is towed is going to go pay and pick it up and get it out of Hawk. Another thing too, man, you guys need to renegotiate what you have going on with that leaseholder over there. You're only getting $10,000 a month, and you've got a business that's paying $25,000. Can you imagine what all the other ones are paying? So I think you need to negotiate more. But I just the passion of these people here. I hope y'all take that into consideration. And me as a resident, I like to go over there. I don't really want to pay for parking either. That's why I don't go to West Palm Beach anymore. It used to be good to go down there for Clematis by night because they had free parking areas. Now they don't. I don't go. I don't go to Del Rey. I don't go to Boca. I go to the places where you can park for free. Look it up in Jupiter on Love Street. They have that big old parking lot. You can go there and you can park for free. You don't have to pay because you're going to go and pay and you're helping out those businesses. So I look at it like these are your businesses. They're here, and they bring people in. I can go sit at Two Drunken Goats and I'm going to meet all sorts of people from different areas. I meet them because they come down from New York and Pennsylvania and all that, and they're here to visit and they come back to the same places. So I think you should listen to your public. Thanks.
Next speaker is Corey Roard, and also last speaker will be Kim Hidrich.
Good evening, everybody. It's Rourke, by the way. I just want to say that I feel for these owners out here. I've been in the restaurant industry going on 25 years. And for them to take care of their employees, it's almost impossible when you implement systems like this. I believe that this should not pass at all. I believe that you should be having all of these passionate people's back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last speaker, Kim Hidrich.
Hello, my name is Kim Hetrick, and as a resident of Singer Island and a supporter of its local businesses, I want to express my opposition to the city implementing parking fees. It feels as though residents and patrons are being asked to pay for something we neither want or need. At the first meeting I attended months ago, the estimated cost for an annual pass was said to be $5 to $10, simply to cover administrative and printing fees. Then at the last meeting, it was quoted around $75 for 6 months. I see tonight that it's now gone to $50, but that's still quite a jump from the original printing costs. I do not support paying for this pass. Merchants are being told they can validate parking. This will require additional labor or system upgrades, leading to increased costs that will ultimately be passed down to consumers. Meanwhile, residents already are grappling with high property taxes, rising insurance rates, and HOA fees, all while contending with economic concerns such as tariffs, recessions, and overall cost of living increases. As a realtor, I see firsthand how higher costs on Singer Islands will deter tourists, full-time residents, and seasonal visitors from moving here. There's plenty of other destinations that remain available to them. And if Singer Island becomes too expensive, local businesses will suffer, potentially to the point of closure. As a single parent who lived paycheck to paycheck, going to the beach was one of the few free activities my children and I enjoyed together. I always tried to include small treats on our beach days, whether ice cream slushies or on a good day, lunch. When Lake Worth Beach introduced parking fees and continued raising the rates, it significantly impacted on what we could afford to do. Despite residents' lack of support, the Riviera Beach City Council continues to push this parking initiative. I vote in every election based on whether my council member truly represents the interests of our community. Will the residents have access to the records on how each member votes on this issue? I want to ensure my representation aligns with our collective stance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are the end of public comments.
Mr. Evans, would you like to address some of those issues? Because one of the issues that kept coming up was employees paying for parking. Another issue was for validation for businesses and for those actual employees. Could you give me some more background on that, and could you address those questions?
Yes, Madam Chair, if I may. So just to provide clarity, when I did communicate that the employees of the entities would be provided for a whitelist, it would be a situation whereby we would work with the businesses and your employees would not have to pay for parking. Originally, when we had discussions concerning the first iteration of the parking program, it was that the employees would pay what is half of the rate that would be levied. But as a result of the communications that we've had with businesses, we revised that to say we would work with the businesses to allot a number of hours, that there would be some buckets of time that they employees would have access to be able to utilize. So in essence, employees are not paying to go to work. And so that is still the same program, and that's something that we do want to move forward with. One of the other comments that was mentioned associated with the sandlot and disabled parking, we would make sure that before the lot is open, that it meets all the code requirements and still has to go through the permitting process to ensure that we're compliant with the code. So any corrections or any modifications that we would have to make, we would certainly do that. One of the things that was mentioned about the 8 hours for free, that came from the conversation that we had with the business community, when the business community said that what happens if somebody comes on a Sunday and watches 2 games? And so we said, okay, we move from 0 to 2.5 hours being free to 8 hours being free, and you would pay after you received after that 8-hour mark. It also was communicated that the monies would be utilized for the water. You can't.
Hold on a second. Say that again.
Excuse me.
Say that one again about the 8 hours free. I didn't get that.
Oh, so you at the west side of the parking lot, the larger parking lot at the Ocean Walk would be free for the first 8 hours. So you can conceivably come and spend the entire day at the beach, 8 hours, and then after the 8 hours, you would be levied what is the fee for the entire day. But from 0 to 8 hours, it would be free. And that was a concession that we made after a conversation with the business community. One of the things that was mentioned as it relates to the use of the funds for the water, you can't do that. As I said earlier, the monies is restricted for transportation, mobility related expenditures, and the preservation of the parking system. So you couldn't utilize it for parks and recreation, police, fire. You have to utilize it for a specific purpose. So you couldn't utilize it for anything outside of what is provided for. Again, the concern about the removal of it was mentioned about the removal. The city did have parking meters at one time, and then there were improvements to Ocean Walk, and the parking meters were never constituted. So it wasn't a situation that the city went away from it from the standpoint that they didn't want parking meters, and they made some improvements to the park, and those parking meters never came back. With respect to the issue as it relates to marina slips, there would be an opportunity where those that have slips at the marina could be treated as resident passes, so they could be eligible to that. But that's something that we need to provide clarity to and get clarity from the board as how you wish to proceed on that. The other item that's important to note is in the establishing documents, it does provide for great unilateral authority for the administrator associated with the fees and the increasing of fees. But the reason that we're here tonight is because throughout the process, we've had a transparent, open discussion with the policymakers and the community as to what the fees would be, because we didn't want, and I didn't want to have a situation where we institute a system and the fees and the board does not agree with the direction that administration would move this particular item. So hence why we're having this discussion. And I would certainly communicate, as long as I'm the administrator, any opportunity that would have to look for fee increases would come back in a discussion like this with the board to increase fees. And it probably should be something, if there are any modifications, that after the establishing fees and program is provided for, subsequent actions take legislative action. So that's something that we can bring back before the board for consideration. And it was also mentioned how many folks participated in the survey that we disseminated. It was about 98 participants in the survey that we disseminated. And in the spirit of transparency, I think you saw also in the PowerPoint presentation that we showed that there was opposition to the parking system, and we communicated to the businesses that we would in fact do that, so the policymakers can have all the information to inform staff accordingly.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Are you finished, Mr. Evans?
Yes, Madam
I
Chair.
think that Mr. Spirit is wanting to say something first, before we went to commercial.
Well, I could pass it. I'll come back to that.
All right, Mr. Guy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few questions, then I'm gonna make a couple of comments. I was born and raised here, right there in St. Mary's Hospital. This has been my home most of my life, except for going off to college and going into the military. I chose to live here for a reason, because I love this area. Seen a lot of people come and go. People come in and buy. They may sell, they may lease out, they may rent. So I've seen a lot in this community. I've set up here more than once, 4 times, served on the Planning and Zoning Board, been very active. I've worked in government for over 35 years. I'm saying all this for a reason. This community is not unique by introducing parking fees. It's actually behind the curveball. West Palm Beach, Boca, Delray, they thriving with parking fees. A lot is going on. I understand anxiety to change, but change is inevitable. And when we sit up here, we have to make difficult decisions. Either we remain the same and fall behind other communities, or we make difficult decisions and we move our city forward. I do a fair bit of traveling too. In different states, even a couple of times a few places out of country. Parking meters I see everywhere. We're talking tonight like it's some foreign concept that it's going to kill a lot of businesses. That remains to be seen, but I very much doubt it, because we see them everywhere. West Palm Beach is not a ghost town. Don't interrupt me, huh?
No.
I didn't interrupt you. Don't disrespect me. We don't do that here, especially not with me. I gave everybody their time. I didn't interrupt them, and I expect the same. West Palm Beach is not a ghost town. Everybody's talking about how all the businesses going to close. I doubt it. I doubt it very seriously. Some may choose to leave. That's a choice to be made. But to put it on parking fees, I think would be misdirected. And for us as a community to move forward, we have to make these difficult decisions. They're not comfortable decisions. These are not decisions that we decide that we're going to wake up and we want parking fees. And to govern and run a municipality, it requires making difficult decisions. We have a pattern. Either you make difficult decisions or your community continue to struggle. We have a lot of people struggling on the west side. A lot of people. I was talking to somebody the other day. I said, you know what? In our communities, some people have generational wealth. We have generational struggles. Our grandparents struggled. Our mothers, our parents struggled. And many of us are struggling. We understand the struggle. So in this time where we are in need of revenue, we have to make difficult decisions. They're not going to be popular, but these are decisions that have to be made. I'm not sure how my colleagues are going to go, but I'll tell you where I'm going. I've been in government a long time, and I understand that these decisions have to be made. And for our community, with all of the issues that we're facing, the revenue is needed. Now, I need a question. I have a couple of questions, then I'm done. Mr. Evans, who decided how the funds are going to be used? Who?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
That was provided for an adopted resolution by the board, and then the funds would come back in the budget appropriation process if any of the funds were to be utilized.
Okay, so it was a resolution.
It was in the, sorry, correction, Madam Chair, if I may. It's provided for in the ordinance.
An ordinance that the council passed.
That is correct.
So we can actually change the ordinance or amend it if need be, if we so choose. Okay, because people are saying that you're going to be the one making all the decisions about fees and who's going to raise them. Is that in the ordinance too?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
I believe in the ordinance, it does give me the flexibility to, in fact, increase the fees. It establishes that we can charge for parking.
Okay, and I think, and we'll discuss that at another time, but that need to be a decision of the board. I don't think that should be a decision of yours. That's only my opinion. The other question that I had, on the last page, it says the city will activate a call center and establish an online support portal to resolve residents and business inquiries throughout the first 90 days of the launch. What happens after 90 days? Who's going to be addressing those issues?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
That is provided for in the contract with the vendor, and then after that 90 days, then it transitions to city staff that would assume the responsibilities of managing any issues concerning the parking systems.
Are we going to have employees designated specifically to deal with those issues?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, we would in essence then facilitate the creation of a parking division as the system in fact grows. But yes, we would start seeing a situation where the city would build out that program.
Okay, how was the vendor selected?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Through a competitive process. So it went for a public solicitation and then ultimately came before the board for consideration.
Okay, and my last question You already answered that the city council restrict how the funds can be used. Okay, those are all of my questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Councilperson Davis Bernier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Evans, you mentioned the restricted funds, and I'm just following up with Mr. Guyton. What can those funds be used for in the current ordinance?
So, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
So the funds can be utilized for if there's a situation where the city wants to construct an urban trail, let's say connecting park systems or in the neighborhood, or expand from your traditional sidewalk to a larger sidewalk. If it is the acquisition of property for parkings. And so one of the things that we've had an issue with and we've talked about is even in our neighborhoods, the city can utilize monies to acquire parcels to establish public parking in the neighborhoods or adjacent properties. So it does provide you the opportunity for property acquisition and then the improvements to effectively fund those improvements. The other side of it is once the fund grows, you can utilize the fund for bond proceeds to build structured parking. And inevitably, that's a situation that the city is going to find itself in because both lots, what the lot that's referred to Spanish Courts and then the adjacent lot, you have a situation where there's development agreements that are on those parcels that those parcels will not be available for too much longer as it relates to the sand lots. So the city is going to have to find other parking alternatives to be able to accommodate what the parking demands are. So really parking and mobility specific related situation. It can be utilized to enhance, but not necessarily supplant. So we couldn't say, if we're going to come in and do a roadway project and we didn't budget for sidewalks, we can't grab from that fund to put sidewalks. No, that it has to be an enhancement.
Thank you. So, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I do have compassion for the employees, and I know that it's tough for everybody. The tariffs are affecting all of us. That's why it's important how we vote and things of that nature. So, the cost of living, everything it's a struggle for all of us. But I do believe that, the resources that can help with maintaining and improving the services that we offer and maintaining the beach, the marina area, which we all enjoy. One of my main concerns was the marina area, not necessarily the beach area. My daughter loves the beach and she goes every time she's here. But this area was my concern because I frequent this facility. It is one of the only facilities that a lot of our residents can afford. A lot of our churches and nonprofits have organizations here. So I did have a concern about, those businesses, those organizations renting this facility and then having to pay their guests for parking. Can you address that a little bit for me for, the residents who have that concern?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Let's go ahead.
So what we would do is we would work with the CRA as it relates to how we would accommodate the groups that would be utilizing this space. So if it's a situation where it's a non-for-profit group, it's a situation where we can easily look to waive what the parking requirements would be for that particular event. If it's a situation where it's a fundraiser for a group, there's a situation where we could, the technology allows for us to turn the system on and off instantaneously. So it has great flexibility. If it is a rental for a wedding party, we can say that in your wedding package, you are allotted X amount of lots or X amount of spaces, and then that's provided for. And anything outside of that, you can look to charge a de minimis fee. So we would work with the CRA to make sure that it doesn't create a situation where non-for-profits and community-based groups in the pricing structure don't utilize the space. In fact, we'll work with them to make sure it doesn't result in causing for any issues with the non-for-profits.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to thank the city manager for coming up with this proposal. I think it's a very good compromise. I'd like to thank you for having the workshops and meeting with all the businesses. But I do recognize that these businesses are making their money on basically 3 months of the year right now. they are paying high rent. We are not at the point right now where these businesses can survive if we charge for parking. I can tell you that the majority of the people on Singer Island, if they have their choice, if they have to pay to go watch the ball game, they're going to go to Duffy's for free rather than going to Johnny Longboat's. That's a fact. Uh, and that goes with most of the businesses that are there right now. They have to make it 12 months of the year. They can't make it 3 months of the year. Eventually, this council is doing great things for future development. We know that we're moving forward with great development on Broadway. We know that the Marina project here is going to have the phase 2, and we're going to see tremendous development. When this development happens, we will have the people here to help these businesses survive 12 months of the year. And then we can start thinking about charging for parking. I think it's premature right now. I think the proposal is a great proposal, and eventually that might be the proposal. I just think that we're just ahead of the game right now, and that we should wait a few years for this development to happen, for the people to come here. Right now, we want to encourage the people to use the beach, especially the residents. $25 may seem insignificant, or $50 may seem insignificant, but I believe we just heard the other day that there was someone that was crying and came into the city. They couldn't afford to pay their water bill. If you can't afford to pay your water bill, you certainly can't afford to pay for parking to go to the beach. We had a vote in this city a few years back when the mall was developed, and we decided to make sure that that mall was left open for the public and was not going to be private. We wanted to encourage people to use our beach, especially the residents. I just think that the timing is not right. I think the plan is good. I think the proposal is good. I just think the timing is off. I think we need another few years, a couple of years before we do this. And like I said, I do appreciate that the city manager did make an effort to hold public meetings and to speak with the businesses. I just think that we're ahead. I mean, I know my wife and I, and I'm going to give you an example. My wife and I go to this little par 3 golf course in Palm Beach that has a restaurant that's right on the ocean. It's owned by the municipality. We go there for brunch and lunch every once in a while. The parking lot is free. They do not charge. If they were charging, I would probably think twice about driving down there and going for my meal right now. Not that I can't afford it. It's just the principle that I'm paying to go in a restaurant to eat and then have to pay to park at the same time. I just think that we're just ahead of the game, and I think that we should wait another few years. And with that, I would like to make a motion that we table this proposal until we have some more development and the stores are able to survive with the new people that we will be bringing in here. And we know that we're bringing those people in because we know the related project, we know the phase 2, and we know all the Broadway development. So I just think that we're just a little ahead of the game. We don't want to see these businesses fail and not be here when that development happens. These people have been here during the pandemic. They've been here during very difficult times. They're finally, I think, starting to get their head above water, although, as they said, the prices are still high for food and labor. I mean, I see it with the labor in my own businesses. We're lucky if we can get a maintenance man for $23 an hour, let alone a cook. I don't know how you get a cook for $17 an hour, but I just think the timing is off, and I do want to make a motion that we table this until we have more development.
Madam Chair?
Hold on a second. We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second for this motion? Motion dies for lack of a second. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I hear my colleagues' concerns and sentiments. My colleague's been serving on this board for the last year, and he's been in this community for many years. But this is something that we implemented, and we had the discussions when we passed this ordinance about 5-6 years ago when we requested this. There was a comment made about Lone Pine, and this is not a Lone Pine meeting. I think that comment was in jest in regards to the number of residents that came out, which we do appreciate and understand. I'm committed to serving and answering the concerns of the residents, but also realizing that there's a need that we have to address all of the residents of Riviera Beach, not just the few that come out to address the concerns. Now, having conversations with a majority of the business owners and residents and patrons, we've changed what we actually started to implement to address those concerns. There was give and take on both sides, and there was a process that was put in part to where we've cut revenue and potential revenue streams from 2.3 million down to about 500,000. I was one of the advocates that advocated for a lot of the tourists and visitors that come to our community to help provide support for mobility, for the roads, and for the parking. But because of the concerns of the business owners and these residents, we've made sure that we made concessions. But what I've heard comparable to the Lone Pine item is even though I attended every single meeting, it ultimately came to a point where the residents just didn't want it because it was not in my backyard. I think that every community that I've known that is a beachfront, a port front, and a railroad community, and a downtown community, they have parking and paid parking options. We have to take that into consideration to elevate this community. We cannot continue to just look at not in our backyard, and we'll find ways to make concessions as a collective. So I appreciate every resident that came out, every community charrette, and every conversation with staff, because I commend staff for listening to making these concessions. And I think that they were actually a bit much, but to be able to implement it and to get started, I'm okay with getting this started because we have to get started. We have to start generating enough revenue to address the infrastructure and failing, crumbling infrastructure. Another resident made a comment about the actual issue with the leaseholder and renegotiating those terms. We're not going to make some of the same decisions that our previous electors, nobody from this board made, where we're only getting $10,000 when a certain business is paying $25,000 a month. $60,000, $70,000 a year in revenue from Ocean Mall was a poor decision, and we're not going to continue to make poor decisions that has impacted our community and affected our infrastructure. Everyone here knows about the crumbling infrastructure that we're addressing on a daily basis. So to say we're not going to charge tourists and visitors that come to visit our community, it doesn't make sense to me in regards to dollar and cents. So board, I'm absolutely supportive of it because I was one of the ones that advocated for this policy, that advocated for this ordinance as a member. And as the mayor, I've had many discussions, and I want to continue to advocate for paid parking for our community with the concessions that my council did make and with my staff did make. Because I think that we have to implement and begin somewhere. We have to start somewhere. And now that we start somewhere, we can continue to have continuous engagement, conversations, discussions to make sure we can address it together as a group. But we have to start somewhere. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions in regards to this? Do we have any public comment, regular public comment cards, Madam Clerk? Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions in regards to this? Mr. Evans, what are you looking for this board to do?
Madam Chair.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Madam Chair, direction from the board as to how you wish to proceed with the items that are before you. Does the board agree with the modified proposal that staff has proffered as it relates to the parking system or another alternative? And so what we would need from the board is, and probably in the form of an official act, would be appreciated as to how the board wishes to direct staff accordingly.
Madam Chair.
Let me say something. I think that, in listening to all of the residents, I seem to have all of the questions that were concerns of the residents. It seems that they were addressed. The issues in regards to the employees having to pay, not having to pay, the issues in regards to validation that they can have without paying, the issue that residents get to park for free, the issue of the marina in terms of the people who own boats who will be given residency, so to speak. So I don't see any other issues that may be hindering us from moving forward with charging people who don't live here a fee to park here. The people who have businesses won't be affected. The people who, because you can validate your customers, the people who have employees who are there, who work at the location can be given a whitelist, the issue about not paying. So I'm not really clear about what it is that the residents don't want, because I think that all of the issues have been addressed. Um, so I think that we need to move forward with this, at least in the spirit of seeing how this is going to work. Sorry, Councilperson Spiritus.
Uh, City Manager Evans, I don't know if you know the answer to this yet, but what is the fee, the ticket, if you stay over time?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
We don't have the information for those rates yet, but that's something that we can certainly build out. One of the things I will tell the board is whichever system or whichever direction the board provides, we would have before implementation another informational session with the community to inform them, as that we'll have that meeting, and then after that meeting, that will start the 35, 45-day notification. So we'll bring everyone back to have the discussion because we can build out some of the other nuances of the program. And so we would have more clarity on that. But I did, Madam Chair, for the record, I did want to communicate, separate and apart from the publicly noticed city council meetings, we met on January 22nd, January 23rd, February 6th, February 11th, and April 16th. And the April 16th meeting was a virtual meeting. So we had multiple meetings to be able to address this issue. And every meeting that we had, some iteration or some nuance change to be able to try to make the modifications to accommodate what the systems were. So staff would have another community charrettes or community discussion. We'll have more of the details formalized for the plan, and then that will facilitate the appropriate notice. And then we will obviously do our public notification campaigns to make sure that the community, as well as the businesses that would be impacted, are informed accordingly.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead. Yes,
All
go
right,
ahead.
so Mr. Evans, my concern is that if somebody goes to the beach and they're there for 8 hours and 15 minutes, are they going to get hit with a $30 fine, a $100 fine? Should they just pay an extra hour fee? I mean, I'm a little concerned on how that works.
Yeah.
Mr. Evans, before you go, let me tell you a story. I went down to the planning transportation meeting in West Palm Beach, and during that time there was a boat show, and I usually pay about $5, $6 for 2, 3 hours at the meeting. I come out of the meeting and I get a bill because there's a boat show for $100 for those 2 hours. So they were charging everybody downtown $100. Do you know how much money that is? So, with that being said, I say that because I don't want a moment like that for residents here. I don't want it to be where I park and then it's supposed to be $5 and then all of a sudden, it's $100. So that certainly has to be something that is addressed so that does not happen to the residents here. But you can address this question, Mr. Evans.
All right, Madam Chair, we would build out the system that can look to accommodate that, because if somebody does stay 8 hours and 15 minutes, it most likely would be the charge for that quarter hour or what have you. But we have to look at it because it's a delicate balance, because one of the things we have seen is there are resorts that people visit that have a $35 parking resort fee. And the depiction that you saw was people leaving their cars because it's cheaper to leave it there versus pay the resort fee. So we got to do a little bit more research to make sure where we don't incentivize that particular behavior, but look to address the situation accordingly. And maybe it's some type of hybrid, but we can cure that.
With that being said, we have had this conversation in regards to parking for the last 4 years. Is there a motion to go ahead and move forward with this, and in the hopes of bringing it back to the public again to be able to have some more discussion about it, but at this point to move forward?
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I would move that we approve the proposed parking um, proposal brought by staff. I don't know if I should put this in the motion, but I would like to also revisit the ordinance associated with the parking proposal to address some issues at another time. But um, I I move that we move forward to approve the proposal, and we can address the ordinance at a later time.
Second for discussion.
Go ahead.
So I just want to be clear with what we're approving. I know you said the original parking rates was where we would get the 2.2 million, and then the adjusted rate, proposed rates would be the 500,000. So what Mr. Guyton is making a motion on, is that on the original or the adjusted? Does it need to be clear in his motion which one that is?
Madam Chair, if, just to provide clarity, I think it's the councilperson, and the councilperson can certainly opine on that. I think it's to the modified or the adjusted parking system, not the original proposal.
That's correct.
Okay, so question with that. Can we go back to that slide, the one with the adjusted? Because I think what I'm looking at is not, it doesn't have all of that included. Because there were some things I agreed with on there, and then some things I didn't necessarily agree with. So are we able to, change it a little bit?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
We can make a alternative proposal if it's the board's desire. So we can easily do that. So if we wanted to go a specific area by area just for confirmation of direction from the board, or do you want to get into what your specific question may be?
I mean,
Yeah.
I would like to do like the marina paved lots.
Okay.
Do that section, then the marina sand lots. I mean, if everybody agrees with the way it is, then that's fine. But I just thought some of it was a little different between Ocean Walk and Marina.
Chair. Madam Chair.
Hold on 1 second, sirs. You can answer her question, Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
We could go into each of the specifics and confirm that in fact the board is fine with the proposal as drafted. We could certainly do that. It may result in Councilperson Guyton amending what is his motion to be in case there's any deviations from what is being considered.
Well, I was getting ready to rescind my motion until
Okay.
we work out the details of.
All right, very good.
Okay.
And you were saying your second, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm rescinding my motion.
Okay, very good. Mr. Evans?
Yeah, so Madam Chair, if I can start, let's start with the resident pass really quickly, because that could be an easy item. Is it the board's desire to facilitate that an annual resident pass would be $50 and a seasonal resident pass would be $25? And would the board look to offer that resident pass to those that have slips at the marina to be able to receive those particular benefits? And then, Mr. Sherman, I don't know if there's any other specificities on that we need to get clarity, so.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, Mr. Evans. I think we should add one more category if you're going to do this. There are certain people who can't afford the $25 or $50. I think based on a certain income, people should be able to get a super discount or a free pass. We want to be able to have the people that live in this community use our beach. We don't want to keep them from coming to the beach.
Mr. Chair.
You want to address that, Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair, if it's the pleasure of the board, we can.
I don't.
No, okay. So she wants to hear each of these, so go through the.
Yeah, but I got a question right now about this. So what's the difference? Why does it say resident annual pass and then seasonal pass? What?
Go ahead.
If I may, there may be a situation where people are only here for a shorter period of time, and let's say they didn't want to spend the $50 or the extra $25, we can give them a seasonal pass for 6 months.
What? Everybody it'd be the $50 I'm fine with the $50 for
For the year?
yeah.
Okay.
And Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
if I may ask for clarity, so we're talking a resident pass is $50 per vehicle
Per
or
year.
per year?
Yes.
Okay.
Per
Is-
year? Per year.
All right.
Yes.
Is there consensus from the majority of the board to do that?
Yes.
So $50 per year per car per.
Chair?
Madam Chair,
Hold on a second. She's not finished with her questions, and I'll get to you guys.
And then the seasonal one, if you're
Would-
talking about a 6 month, but I mean, I would be fine with it just being 6 months, 3 months, 1 year, $50 a year.
Yeah. Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, go ahead.
The way I took that is there's only one pass.
Right.
You pay the $50.
Yeah.
You can use it for 6 months or you can use it for 12,
I'm
but
fine
it's
with
one
that.
pass.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And we can look at a situation, maybe there's, consistent with our utility assistance program, maybe a low income, modification that they have to.
Yeah, I think that we
More than
can.
likely, they both don't have a car.
All right, so are there any,
Fine,
Yeah.
if everybody's fine.
is everybody, I think we have a majority who is fine with the $50 just flat fee for the year.
but can I ask a question?
Of course you can.
Where is the employee, is there a separate slide for the employees?
We're going to get into the specificities on when we go to each of the lots. And so what we would ask for the board is clarity that the employees are to be whitelisted or to have a situation where the employees would not be charged for parking. Now, we're going to have to work with the businesses to make sure that the employee rosters are consistent because attrition happens, same employee, and you don't want to have a situation where it becomes a pass for
And is
somebody
there a
that's
max, right, and is there a
Right.
max of employees?
So we'll build out that in greater specificity. We just need to know if, from a policy direction perspective, it's just the board's desire not to charge a fee for those that are bona fide employees and for this conversation is Ocean Walk. And then we would do the same. We would offer the same language over for the marina.
Madam Chair?
Okay. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay, so Mr. Evans, you're saying $50 per car. Is it possible to use something like a handicap type sticker that they could put on the mirror so they can move it from one car to another? Because some families have 2, 3 cars.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
What's most likely going to happen is because the system is intuitive, we would put in the license plate data. So it wouldn't even be a situation where you'd have to have a placard. What will happen is when you pull into the lot, it'll automatically pick up that you are a resident and you have a resident pass. So, it would go with the license plate of the vehicle. So it couldn't be a situation where you can share passes amongst vehicles.
I hear it. Thank you.
All right, very good. So with that being said, and your questions being answered, can I get a motion to move forward with this?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if we can take it all because we're writing down what the notes are and then we can take it all in one
All right,
motion.
go ahead. I see.
So what we have here is the Ocean Walk, the alternative. The alternative proposal is that for the premium area, that's the area Ocean Avenue between the park and the businesses, that there would not be any concession. We would charge the full rate for parking. On the west side of the buildings would be a situation where it would be 8 hours is free, first 8 hours. After 8 hours, you would be hit with a $30 fee. And then we can look at what the graduated fees are after that 8 hours. But that's something that we need to make sure that it's not a situation that creates for the problem that we still have to continue. The other side of it is the validation code. Does the board agree with us providing validation codes up to or for the businesses that would utilize any of the areas? Now, the validation code really would only be utilized, I think, when it's somebody parks in those premium spots, because if you're there for 8 hours, there's no fee charged at all. And so I would say that the validation code would only be provided for if it's those people that park in the premium, and maybe you set, if they spend over $5 or $10 in a restaurant, they're provided, what that validation code is. It's up to the board how you wish to proceed on that.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
So on the west side of the building, you're saying basically no one is going to pay up to 8 hours.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Go ahead.
the concession that we made is that you would not pay from 0 to 8 hours, because that was one of the things that the businesses came and somebody comes in there and they want to watch 2 games. And so again, the board can direct us accordingly. You can pick a hybrid situation and the like, but that's what is proposed in the alternative proposal.
So, the 0 to 2 hours, I think you had 0 to 2 hours free on the marina, maybe? Is that where that was? I mean, I could see that. I know it used to be when I would go to City Place, I think you used to be able to get 2 hours free. However, I went to pick up a takeout a couple of weeks ago, and I was only out the car, parked for 11 minutes in the garage, and I came out and paid $11. So I was a little surprised by that, because I guess I didn't read it. I assumed it was still 0 to 2 hours free. But I don't want to see, but I think it's pretty reasonable for people to be able to go and have lunch or dinner within 2 hours and, have it free and not have to pay. And if they're out there a little longer than that and they're a visitor, then the hourly rates should apply. If it's a resident, then we're going to take care of those people, right? So I would be fine with 0 to 2 hours free, because that will cover people, and it won't necessarily have a need for the validation of the restaurants, right?
Right.
But that would be the only modification I would say with the original proposal, is just making the 0 to 2 hours free, and then everything else could stay as it is.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Just a quick feedback in regards to that. I would recommend we go with the validation codes for over the 0 to 2 hours, because the beachgoers that are going to be coming out there, that means they're going to use those free parking, and they wouldn't be actually patronizing any of the restaurants. So if we are going to validate codes, I think we should still be charging and not be doing the 0 to 2 hours. So I would say we charge from the beginning and then allow for restaurateurs to be able to validate. Because if they're going to shop or go to breakfast, go to dinner, if they're going to patronize these restaurants, that's one thing. But 0 to 2 hours for the beachgoers that are just coming to utilize our beaches, they should be paying, especially if they're tourists.
I can go with that. That's fine. So you're saying everything stays the same on the left?
Yes, ma'am.
Plus the validation for the restaurant.
Yeah, no 8 hours free. Let the restaurant be able to validate, and then we can just be charging from the very beginning. Because if the restaurants, they're coming to eat, they can validate the tickets, and then they won't have to pay for parking. But if they're going to just go to the beach, they should be paying for parking. Most beaches are charging to park. Madam Chair, for clarity,
Hold on one second. So if they're a resident, then what happens?
if they're a resident and they have a resident pass,
Okay,
they can park anywhere.
All right.
Madam Chair, just for clarity, so it's the board's desire to see the second half of the original proposal incorporated in what is going to be the final proposal, that we will start charging that 0 to 2, $2, the 2 to 3 hours, 7, from 3 to 4, 9, and 4 to 8, 20, and then 8 plus 30. Now, question is, does the board want to, and then institute the validation code, does the board want to put a value on that validation code? The reason being is if I go in and buy a bubble gum at 7-Eleven and I was there for 8 hours, do I get $30 worth of credit for my parking? So in most places have a minimum spend, whether it's $20 or $25 or something, to in fact facilitate the parking.
So what does that mean?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
So in a situation right now, if we implement this system as presented, and you allow for validation codes, so all the businesses participate in the validation code process, If I go into 7-Eleven and they can validate parking for any value, if I buy $1 bubble gum and I've been there all day for 8 hours, if they can validate it, they can wipe the $30
see.
away. So
I
do
see.
you want to have that you have to spend a minimum of $5 or $10 or $15 to get the validation? And so if there's any specifics associated, that I know our parking vendor can kind of speak on how other agencies do that, but is there a minimum value of the validation code that they have to spend X amount of dollars to receive that validation
Let the
code?
parking guy come up and explain that, because I'm still kind of,
Manager.
yes, go ahead.
But if we do that, I'm assuming that's gonna be put onto the business owners to monitor that, right?
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah.
it would be a situation where there would have to be, the business owners would have to be provided the information that they in fact have spent X amount of dollars. Now, how to audit it, that,
But see, I think if that's where the 0 to 2 hours free would cover that, and it will eliminate the businesses having to monitor, you know, you know what I mean? I wouldn't want to put that on the businesses of having to
Because
make
then
sure.
that's more,
Madam Chair?
more conversation about, and then when we're talking about validation, we're talking about for the purpose of the restaurant. So that, because that was the issue that the restaurants had, that they won't get people to come to the restaurant if they have to pay for parking, and I get that. So we have to be very careful about that whole validation piece, because that is what we're doing to make sure that our businesses can work with this system. Go ahead, Mr. Evans, and I'll get to you, Mr.
we have our parking expert here from One Park that can talk about how a validation code would work. If it is a situation where, because we were just having the conversation, where it is the city staff, because if you are going to give the businesses as part of an honor system, so if you're not going to do that, then it would require us staffing that parking 365 days, however long we have the parking to be able to, you got to bring your receipt to receive what is in fact the validation code. And so it does provide a situation there. So if you want to kind of talk how validation codes are handled in other areas.
Sure.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I'm Mark Pratt. I'm the president of One Parking based in West Palm Beach. I've been in the parking business for about 40 years, and we have worked with city staff on this particular program for going on 2 years now. I've probably been in, at last count, 58 different markets, running thousands of retail locations across the country. Was the preferred provider for Simon Malls based in Indianapolis, Indiana, with malls, 200 plus malls all across the country. It's quite common that in a situation like this, there has to be a minimum purchase, or otherwise they do exactly what the city manager was talking about. Stay at the beach for 8 to 10 hours and run in and buy a $2 Coke, and their parking ends up being free. So applying these minimum values before a validation is given is quite common.
So how does that work? Because like if we go to the movies downtown and you pull out the little thing and then you go to the movie and come out and then they charge you, because there's no one sitting there, they just put the thing back in, and how does that work? Yeah.
So this is quite different than that with respect. At the cinema that used to be at City Place, we happen to run City Place. We have 1-point-something million visitors a year, and that's an old style ticket spitter with a paper ticket that comes out. And then I would walk up to a movie employee and I could either re-encode that mag stripe on that ticket by putting it in a device to re-encode it, hand out a paper sticker, a validation coupon that would be affixed to the ticket, et cetera, et cetera. In your situation, everything is driven by the license plate and the LPR camera. So when I come onto the lot, the LPR camera picks me up immediately and puts me in the cloud in the system. And the cloud is just waiting for a payment or a validation. If I see either one, then I'm good and my license plate is good and I drive out, the system checks me out, if you will, and I'm free and clear and not subject to get a citation. in the system we're talking about, if I'm a server at Castaways, if I'm the owner of Castaways, I'm going to have an app. And if I walk up to the owner or the server, what I need to remember is my license plate. And then once I give my license plate to the owner of Castaways, then he puts it in the app, registers a validation, and then the cloud tells the system that my car has been validated and I'm good to go.
I see.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay, so, Mr. Evans, we have a health club, a gym at the Ocean Mall. So how do you handle that? Those people buy season passes for the year. How would that be handled?
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, go ahead.
We do have situations where the 7-Eleven also has an issue as well for coming and picking up something and leaving. And so, as well as delivery trucks, all these particular businesses need to be serviced by a delivery truck. So the system does allow for us to have a situation where maybe instead of the 0 to 2, that you really start charging after that 1 hour or something for that fitness club, or to be able to make that modification. So that's a good point. We could make that change, and that's why when we first introduced it, the 0 to 2 hours was free from the standpoint is people can come in and out, and for all intent and purpose, work out. If they're working out over 2 hours, that's great. But realistically, it's coming out, and it makes it a little bit easier than if you have to get that granular to say 1.5 hours or the like.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I think it's cleaner and easier to just do the 0 to 2 hours free. And that takes away the validation. I mean, if you go to the restaurant and sit there for 3-4 hours, I mean, you'll just pay the extra 1 or 2 hours above the 2 hours free. I mean, I don't go anywhere where you can get 4 hours free. So 2 hours free, I have no issue with that. I think that's reasonable. And it takes all of that validation away from the businesses and having to get involved in that, especially if they don't want to be a part of it anyway. I mean, what now you want them to assign a value amount? And I mean, that just sounds like that's a whole extra position and that they got to pay for somebody to do. And I don't think we need to nitpick to that point. So I think 0 to 2 hours free, and then go from there with the rest of the rates that we have. So I would imagine the original proposal all the way on the left side.
So original proposal, only difference is 0 to 2 is free, no validation codes.
Right.
Okay.
What do y'all think?
Is that
Everybody?
the consensus?
Yes.
Down there?
Oh, you're fine. You're
Madam Chair,
Yes, she's good.
I'm sorry. I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, are we through?
No, we got another.
We got one
we
more
have-
sheet.
We have one
One
more.
more sheet, Mr.
Okay.
Guy.
Yeah.
Marina.
So the alternative proposal that we have is either 0 to 2 is free for that. This also contemplates validation code. And so this is something that most of your businesses at the marina are going to probably be, if you're going on a shuttle for Peanut Island, you're going to be out there for probably more than the 2 hours. If you're going scuba diving and that, you're going to be out there for longer than 2 hours. And so that's again why the validation code was provided. So depending on how the board wants us to look at this, we can make some modifications, or we can adopt it as is with or without the validation codes.
So, and Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
So for this part here, this is taking out the people who are renting the event center. Well, no, they're covered if they're here for the 2 hours. The passes are available for the people that are docked,
The resident
right?
pass, correct.
All right, and then people that are just coming to go hang on Peanut Island for hours would fall up under those rates.
Yes, they would get the first 2 hours would be free, and then after that, they would pay at whatever the graduated scale is based on when they depart. And if there's no validation codes that are provided.
Madam Chair?
The no, I think a few minutes ago you said something about the businesses. If they're coming paddle boarding or whatever, they would still fall up under those rates.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So paddle boarding, jet skis, all that would fall under those rates. And most of those rentals like that are based on an hour per hour basis.
Okay. I would be,
Yep, yeah.
I'm fine with the amended proposal.
The amended one?
Yes.
Okay.
With validation. Because
And with, what's the validation
Example, yeah,
rules?
right, that's what
I
I was
mean,
gonna ask.
what are
Give me
gonna
an
be the rules on
example
that
over
one?
here.
Now, what does that mean?
the validation would be similar to that we push and walk, is that if somebody is, getting on the island shuttle and they are spending over X, that they receive a validation code for parking. So it depends on if the board wants to have that in there. If not, you can clearly remove it.
Yeah, I think it just complicates things for the validation codes. I'm without for me.
Yeah, I'm good with that either. Without.
The balance of the board.
Balance of the
Without?
board, without, yes, that's 3.
All right.
That's it?
I think that's it. So
All right, very good.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Question. So, Mr. Evans, so if there is a wedding here at the marina, and these people are from out of town, you're gonna just let everybody park for free, or are you gonna charge everybody?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
What we would do is build into that package if they rent so this room will come with X amount of parking that's provided for based on their event. So that would be included in their overall cost for us to effectively turn off the parking systems or provide at least 30 spots or 60 spots for a wedding party. So it would be incorporated as part of their rental fee for the space to actually pay for what the parking would be out in that area. That's for a wedding party. A non-for-profit is going to be a different structure. There will be a situation where there wouldn't be a fee associated with that.
Madam Chair.
I see, go ahead.
Yeah, because there's a hotel I went to a workshop off of Belvedere, and they have just surface parking, and they gave a code to put in,
Yeah.
And they actually chart, I guess, within our registration fee was the fee for the parking. So you were given the code, and you just put the code in, and you didn't have to worry about paying anything or being charged. So that would be the same thing if, we had something here.
All right, very good. Mr. Guyton, Councilman Guyton.
I move that we approve the parking proposal with the amendments that's just discussed.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Davis Penier,
Yes.
Councilperson Guyton,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Spiritus,
Vote yes to preserve my rights.
Yes.
Under Robert's rules.
Yeah.
Chairperson
This is
Lin-
yes is under protest.
Chairperson Lanier.
Yes.
Item passes.
Okay, very good. So we are at the end of this meeting. Are there any discussions by the city manager?
Yes, Madam Chair, very briefly, we have two, we have 2 firefighters that are being recognized at the Palm Beach County North Chamber of Commerce for a Valor Community Service Award. It starts at 7:15 tomorrow morning at the Palm Beach Garden Marriott, 4000 RCA Boulevard. Hope to see you all there. We'll be there at 7:15, recognizing our firefighters for their valor on this call. And that concludes my comments, Madam Chair.
All right, very good. City Attorney,
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
are there any statements by the mayor or the city council?
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to recognize my new legislative assistant, Miss Akiria Wester. She's back there in the back. If you could wave, please welcome her. She's doing a wonderful job. She's been with me a week, and for those of you who thought I would never get another aide, fooled you. Thank you.
Any other from the board?
I would like to say something, Madam
go
Chair.
ahead. Yes,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to say thank you to the businesses in Riviera Beach, on the island, on here. We do need you. We thank you. But I want to just piggyback on what Dr. Spirit has said. We're hoping that because of the development that's coming, that you will fight it out, stick with it, and stay around, because we're expecting some great things in the city. So don't give up. Just, work with us. And thank you again for your commitment to Riviera Beach. Thank you.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.